It's that time of year. The main crop potatoes are starting to come up now. Hi, I'm Robin. Welcome to Robin's Container Garden. You might wonder why I'm standing at the bean arch to talk to you about potatoes. It's because the sun is over here and it is really showing off this bean arch, and I just wanted to show it off, and this was a really good way to do it. But anyway, I'm going to harvest a bag of one of my main crop potatoes, the Picassos, today. But it's not because I need to show you how to harvest potatoes, because that's trying to teach you how to suck eggs. The reason that I'm trying to show you this is because I want to show you what you can do with a particular type of potato. Curious? Well, come on, let's go do it. Now, you may have wondered why I had sticks like this on my bean arch. It's because we are getting some really high winds. You know that is one of my biggest nemesis, is the winds here in our garden anyway. And I noticed that with the weight of the plants and the beans that are hanging on the Borlotti bean arch, that when we were getting really bad winds one day, it was really starting to sway. So I had to go and put some supports up to make sure that it didn't fall over. It's just one of those things you've got to do to make sure that you don't waste your vegetables, especially the time of year when everything's starting to wind down and you know that you just need to let something grow a little bit longer, leeks, before you want to start pulling things up. So that's why we had the stakes on. And now I'm going to go get the potatoes and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. My potatoes have been kind of hit and miss this year. Sometimes they have had loads of potatoes in a container. Sometimes they've had less. It kind of depends on how many seed potatoes I put into a container, and obviously how much nutrition they had and how much sunlight they had and how much time I let them grow. We've had kind of mixed bag, pardon the pun, with our potatoes this year. We've had some that have done exquisitely well. They're beautiful potatoes. The Pentland Javelins I grew last year and this year. Didn't grow the kestrels but this year, and this is the first time I've ever grown the main crop as well. So I'm happy with the harvest that we've got. We had a couple of them that had scab on them, and scab is not the end of the world. It just doesn't look very pretty. You just peel the potato and the potato's fine. It doesn't affect the way it tastes. It doesn't affect its edibility, unlike what I'm about to show you does. Now this here is a green potato. Now you've been told not to eat green potatoes, but I'm going to tell you to save it. Don't throw it out. And the reason that I'm going to tell you not to throw it out is because this particular potato, after I pulled the stem off, is going to be used for next year's seed potatoes. Whereas you can't eat a green potato because it's green and it will make you sick. You can use them as seed potatoes, and the potatoes that come from them will be fine. So we're going to talk about saving seed potatoes for next year, but it's not going to really be the conversation that I think you think we might have. Some pretty good sized ones in here actually this time. These Picassos look a lot like the kestrels. They've got these little pink eyes on them. They're really pretty potatoes. Oh, I left my red bag around the side. That's okay. stuff in there in a minute after I get these potatoes out. Now these are all just from one bag, and because they're main crop potatoes and all of the greenery had died off, I just cut the greenery down and decided that I would just let them stay out here outside while we were waiting to use them. We eat potatoes regularly, but we don't eat them enough to, we don't eat like potatoes all the time. So we just use them as and when we need potatoes. And it's great because instead of going to the supermarket and buying supermarket potatoes, we just go out back and shop in the garden for potatoes. And we've been doing that with the leeks as well. I'll show you a picture actually of one of the leeks that I pulled up yesterday. It's 4 times the size of the first ones that I pulled up when I talked about harvesting leeks. And leeks are quite hardy, so even as it's getting colder, we're okay to leave them out here. As long as they're still green, they're okay. So this is the potato harvest for this container. It's not millions, but that'll feed us for 3 meals, I think. So that's them, and I'll put the weight of how much they were down here on the screen when I get inside and I can weigh them. Now what we're going to talk about is saving seed potatoes. I don't like to waste things. If I can use something in a different way, then I will. So when I saw that this particular potato had green because it was sticking up at the top, I missed it when it was coming up. I thought, well, that's going to be one for the compost bin. However, it's not going to go into compost bin. And the reason behind that is because I know that I can use this as a seed potato for next year. 2 ways I know that is, one, that I know that you can grow new potato plants from green potatoes, but also that it doesn't have any damage on it. I was talking to you about scab earlier. This doesn't have any scab on it. There's no damaged parts to it, and it's got several places where the eyes can come out. Now, I'm not ready to start chitting these yet. That won't come until next year. But what I will do is I will set this out. It's the only one I've got at the moment. I'll set it out on some newspaper in one of our spare rooms that doesn't get heated, and I'll let it sit for a couple of weeks. And while it's sitting, the skin will set on it. It will cure, for the proper word here. And that means that it'll keep longer. And then when I'm ready to actually store it, I'll either wrap it in some newspaper, or I will put it on some clean newspaper and put it in a closet somewhere, like I said, in a spare room where it's not going to get any light and it's going to be cooler in there. And then when I'm ready to chit them, then I will bring this one out and let it start to chit in the sun, in the light, in the back room. Now, the reason that I said that we would be talking about something a little bit different, it's cold out here, my hands are freezing. The reason that I said that we would be talking about something a little bit different is that I haven't actually saved seed potatoes from my potato harvest from this year. And there's 2 reasons for that. One is, as I said, we weren't getting as big a harvest as I had imagined that we would be getting. And we tend to just use one container at a time and leave the rest out, let it sit, and then use it as and when we need it. But another reason is because a couple of the containers had potatoes with scab on them. That's a disease that comes from a couple of different things. One is acidic soil. And as you guys know, I used soil from the compost bin that we've got over here in the corner to put our potatoes in. And what I learned this year, is that I think that that soil is a lot more acidic than I thought it was. We do put more green in there, I think, than we do brown. So it's either we mix it in with different stuff that we can get, so maybe some leaf mold or some fresh compost next year and try to avoid that, or we put some kind of additive into the soil as we're planting to keep that soil from being quite as acidic and make it a little bit more kind of middle of the road. So that's one of the reasons that I think that we got scab, because I don't believe that it came from the potatoes, the seed potatoes that we bought. I think that the place that we bought our seed potatoes is a reputable company, and that they gave us seed-free or disease-free potatoes, and I don't, like I said, I don't believe for a minute that that came from them. However, just to test a few things out, I will be getting some seed potatoes from a different supplier this year, just to kind of test it and see the kind of things that we can get. Now, one of the things that I wanted to say also was that one of my viewers, Lee, said that they would actually quite like a little potato grow along with Robin's Container Garden, and I am quite happy to do that. I am going to, with the exception of maybe a couple of these little green, white skinned potatoes, I'm going to grow red skinned potatoes next year. And just to, you know, I like my experiments, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to try something different and see if there's a big taste difference, because we quite like these white potatoes, and the normal reaction would be, well, you like the white potatoes, you know you like the white potatoes, keep growing those. But I thought it would be kind of fun to do a little grow along with some red potatoes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up in a different supplier, and I'm not going to tell you where I'm going to get my seed potatoes, because I don't think that's fair, because some of my viewers are in the States and you won't have the same access to seed potato suppliers that I do here in Scotland. So I'm just going to get some seed potatoes from a supplier, and I'll tell you which ones, when I make up my mind, when I make up my decision of the seed potatoes that I'm going to get. I'm probably going to get one early potato, so probably a first or second early, and I'm going to get main crop. We had a rotten summer this year. We had cloud, we had wind, we had rain, and we had a really sad summer. We had a really great couple of weeks in June, which helped get some of the stuff started. And we had some good weather in September for a week or two, and that kind of helped get those tomatoes that I had out. Now, what I'm going to tell you is in a few weeks' time, and I don't know when yet, because it has to wait until after all of my stuff is harvested. So I still have some potatoes around to get harvested. I've got these leeks to harvest, and I've got my beans, my burlati beans left to harvest. Once I get all of that harvested, I'm going to do a comparison video with my harvest from last year. Now, there are some things that I grew this year that I didn't grow last year. There's some things that I grew last year that I didn't grow this year. There's things that I have kind of done an early comparison, and I found that some of the things that I grew last year outdid things that I did this year, and vice versa. So I know already that my harvest from this year is bigger than my harvest from last year, although I'm just going to tell you a little spoiler here. My tomatoes were about a third of what I harvested last year. I had more tomato plants this year than I did last year. I had 9 last year, I had 14 this year, and I had a third less harvest. And when I do that video, I'll go into a little bit more detail of why I think that happened. Last year I did a couple of videos with some of my favorite YouTubers for autumn preparations, and you'll find those videos here and here, and I hope that you get something from those. And remember, you don't have to grow all the things, just grow something. Take care. Bye, y'all.